Right now, the streets of Cape Town are a total powder keg. Outside the High Court, angry MK Party protesters are chanting for justice, while inside, President Cyril Ramaphosa is desperately fighting a high-stakes legal battle to completely shut down the Phala Phala inquiry. Think about the gravity of this. The sitting president of South Africa is using urgent court interdicts to halt an investigation into millions in hidden cash. Is this a legitimate legal defense, or is it a blatant, high-level cover-up happening right before our eyes? The tension on the ground is palpable, and the political future of the country is hanging by an absolute thread. If you're joining us for the first time, subscribe so you don't miss any updates. And if you find this video informative, please like, subscribe, and share.
To vigorously oppose Ramaphosa's application to interdict the impeachment committee pending the so-called review application, which is set down for hearing in September. We submit Ramaphosa is wasting time. You cannot interdict an inquiry which has already been directed by the Apex Court. The Constitutional Court is the final court of appeal in the land. There is no further appeal. Once it makes a ruling, there is no other court which has competent jurisdiction to entertain the matter. There is case law to that effect, more of that later in court. The case that is directly in point involves our own President Ramaphosa. When the Constitutional Court sentenced him to direct imprisonment for contempt of court, there was an application that was brought. To interdict his incarceration pending the setting aside or the reviewing of that judgment. There was a judgment that emanated from Natal, which was authored by Justice Mnguni, which is legally persuasive. He ruled that once a constitutional court has made a ruling, it is not competent for any other court in the land to pronounce upon the ruling that has been made by that court. That precedent is binding, and Ramaphosa knows that that precedent is there. This is just a waste of time in our view.
And now, all of us were inside listening to the proceedings in court. The president is going to struggle. First of all, they're trying to attack the Section 89 panel report. There is no way the Constitutional Court would have ordered compliance with a defective report. That's a nonsensical argument. The Constitutional Court ordered that the Section 89 impeachment proceedings must be complied with because it was satisfied that the report made sense. We're talking about a report of a panel, a distinguished panel. Chief Justice Snow is an outstanding judge. We all know that. In any event, there is no perfect report in this world. The report itself makes it abundantly clear that it was based on the version of Ramaphosa, which still doesn't make sense. It's a fairy tale, right? So all we are saying is that counsel for Ramaphosa is struggling at the moment. It is very clear from the questions that the judges are asking that he is struggling. Law is really like medicine to some extent. You don't go to a doctor when you have AIDS and hope for miracles. Lawyers are not magicians. They don't do miracles. Ramaphosa has a hopeless case. It's a delaying tactic. He does not want to account. This is the president, as I have said in this morning, who thinks he is above the law. And his argument, the gist of his argument is that he is going to be humiliated. He will be given an opportunity when he appears before the impeachment committee to state his case. He knows he will not survive cross-examination. We will wipe the floor with him. He knows that.
This story matters right now because it strikes at the very heart of South Africa's democracy. The man who was voted into power on a promise to clean up government corruption stands accused of hidden cash, illegal operations, and abuse of power. If a president can use the courts to block Parliament from holding him accountable, It sets a dangerous precedent where the powerful simply rewrite the rules to protect themselves. To understand how we reached this explosive moment outside the High Court, we have to look back to early 2020. Phala Phala is a private, luxury game farm owned by President Ramaphosa in the Limpopo province. For more than 2 years, the public knew absolutely nothing about a massive criminal conspiracy that took place within its borders, hidden entirely from tax authorities and the citizens of South Africa. But here's where things get disturbing. The timeline of this scandal is filled with unexplained decisions and shifting stories. On February 9th, 2020, intruders broke into the Phala Phala farm and stole a massive amount of foreign currency. Instead of calling local police, the theft was kept entirely quiet, bypassed through the head of the Presidential Protection Unit. Nothing was made public until June 2022, when Arthur Fraser, the former head of the State Security Agency, walked into a police station and laid formal criminal charges. Fraser alleged that millions of US dollars had been hidden inside a leather sofa on the farm, and that the thieves were tracked down, kidnapped, and paid off to keep quiet using state security resources. The presidency quickly went into damage control, claiming the stolen money was closer to $580,000, not millions. They stated the cash came from a legitimate business transaction where a Sudanese businessman had bought buffalo. What happened next raised serious questions. In late 2022, an independent parliamentary panel concluded there was prima facie evidence that President Ramaphosa may have violated the Constitution. Yet, the ruling party used its massive majority in parliament to vote down the report, blocking an impeachment committee. But this is the part few people are talking about. Opposition parties refused to let the matter go and took the fight to the Constitutional Court. The highest court in the land delivered a massive blow to the presidency, ruling that Parliament's decision to block the inquiry was irrational and ordering that the impeachment process must go ahead. This ruling triggered the current crisis. To stop the parliamentary committee from starting its work, President Ramaphosa launched an urgent legal application in the Western Cape High Court to freeze the entire process. When you look closely at the details, the official narrative shows massive cracks. We are told the cash was a deposit for buffalo, yet years later, those buffalo have never been delivered to the buyer. Furthermore, how does a vast amount of physical foreign currency enter South Africa and end up stuffed inside a sofa without a single customs record? The social and political impact of this case is devastating. South Africa has spent years trying to recover from systemic corruption, and seeing the president use every legal loophole to avoid answering questions under oath has shattered public trust, while the resulting political instability frightens investors and weakens the economy. The reaction on the ground has been incredibly polarized. Outside the courtroom, opposition groups argue that the president is treating himself as if he is above the law. Meanwhile, the president's legal team argues that forcing him through an impeachment inquiry based on a flawed panel report would cause irreversible damage to the country's stability. So, what happens next? The Western Cape High Court must decide whether it can pause a process ordered by the Constitutional Court. If the court rejects his application, the impeachment committee will begin, leading to public hearings and a level of scrutiny that no sitting South African president has ever faced. This legal battle is a definitive test of whether the Constitution is strong enough to hold its most powerful citizen accountable. We want to hear from you. Do you think the president is just protecting his rights, or is this a clear attempt to escape accountability? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.